පින්කල පුද්ගලයා මෙලවදීත් සතුටු වේ, පරලොවදීත් සතුටු වේ, දෙලොවදීම සතුටු වේ. තමාගේ යහපත් ක්‍රියාව දැක හෙතෙම සතුටු වේ, විශේෂයෙන් සතුටු වේ. සාදු සාදු සාදු. අද දවසේ උතුම් වූ ධර්මානුශාසනාව සිදු කරනු ලබන්නේ පූජ්‍යපාද හේනේපොළ ගුණරතන ස්වාමින් වහන්සේ. අද දවසේ දායකත්වයෙන් කටයුතු කරනු ලබනවා මෙම උතුම් ධර්මදේශනය කර්මනාලිකාව තුළින් විකාශනය කිරීම සඳහා නොම්බර 47න් 31 අරුප්පල වත්තපාර මහනුවර ලිපිනේ පදිංචි වෛද්‍ය ජයන්තා විජේසේකර මහත්මිය විසින් සදැහැති දායකත්වය දරා තිබෙනවා. මෙම උතුම් වූ දේශනාව සිදු කිරීම සඳහා ස්වාමින් වහන්සේට ගෞරවයෙන් ආරාධනා කරමු. අවසරයි ස්වාමින් වහන්සේ.
නමෝ තස්ස භගවතු අරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස. නමෝ තස්ස භගවතු අරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස. නමෝ තස්ස භගවතු අරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස. Good afternoon, everybody. I want to speak today on Metta again. I think you have already heard several talks on Metta. The subject is so deep and wide that no matter how many talks on Metta are given, still it is not exhausted. It is so profound subject. I want to start today's talk with the Buddha, who is an embodiment of Metta. Not because I am a Buddhist monk following the Buddha's teaching for many years, but because it is true that in the Buddha's life, no matter how, in what way you look at it, from what perspective, you will never find anything that he has said, done. I don't know what about his thought. However, his thoughts, words, deeds are concordant, in agreement. Therefore, his thoughts, you never find in his thought, word or deed that is expressed in anger without metta, compassion. Since we all are following his teaching, it is better for us to learn something about his metta, which he taught us to follow, practice. Probably you know that Buddha spent his 24 hours in serving the world. His night divided into 3, which are called watches, 3 watches. Approximately each watch is 4 hours. And first watch he would instruct monks, nuns and lay people. Second watch he spent teaching Dhamma to deities, various kind of deities. Third watch he divided into 3. From maybe 2 to 4, 2 hours he rested. 4 to 5 or 4 to 6 maybe he meditated. It is called Maha Karuna Samapatti, attaining the attainment of great compassion. And then surveyed the world to see if there is anybody who needs his help, who is in difficult problems. Then he went to that person or people and gave instructions how to overcome their difficulties, and by listening to that, the person not only overcame that person's regular mundane difficulties, but also the person attained enlightenment. Now, this means he was so compassionate, full of metta, that he hardly had only 2 hours rest of a day. 22 hours he served the world, served people. This Buddha, therefore, did everything for our benefit, for our own peace and happiness. One day, Buddha asked Venerable Ananda, Ananda, don't behave towards me like my enemy, but behave towards me like my friend. What does it mean? Venerable Ananda was the Buddha's personal attendant who served the Buddha with loving thought, word and deed for long period of time. It is said that when the Buddha took 2 hours rest after all these hard days' work, Venerable Ananda took a club and walked around his kuti so that nobody would come and disturb him. He would not attack somebody with the club, but he perhaps as a habit might have taken it. So was his love and respect towards the Buddha. And to that Venerable Ananda, if the Buddha said not to behave towards him like his enemy, but like towards his friend, there must be some deep meaning in that statement. So explaining this deep meaning, Buddha said, Ananda, behave towards me with friendliness, not with hostility. That will lead to your welfare and happiness for a long time. And how do a disciple behaves towards the teacher with hostility, not with friendliness? Here Ananda, compassionate and seeking their well-being, the Tathagata teaches the Dhamma to the disciples out of compassion, This is for your welfare, this is for your happiness. His disciples do not want to hear or give ear or extend their minds to understand. They err and they turn aside from the teacher's dispensation. Thus do disciples behave towards the teacher with hostility, not with friendliness. And how do disciples behave towards the teacher with friendliness, not with hostility? Here Ananda, compassionate and seeking their welfare, the teacher teaches the Dhamma to the disciple out of compassion. This is for your welfare, this is for your happiness. His disciples want to hear and give ear and extend their minds to understand. They do not err and turn aside from the teacher's dispensation. Thus do disciples behave towards the teacher with friendliness, not with hostility. You see, the meaning is very clear. When he asks us to practice metta, he does not gain, he even is not living now. Even in his time, he has not gained anything from disciples practicing metta. We practice metta out of feeling of metta, and we who practice it are the ones who benefit from the practice of metta. And therefore, in order to make our own minds peaceful and happy, to gain even liberation, we follow metta practice. Buddha himself said, Metta vihari yo bhikkhu pasanno buddha sasane adhigacche padang santang sankharupa samang sukhang. Metta vihari yo bhikkhu, a bhikkhu who lives with metta. Pasanno buddha sasane, he will be pleased with the teachings of the Buddha. And then adhigacche padang santang, since he is full of metta, practicing metta, follow the Buddha's teaching with metta, adhigacche padang santang, attain the peaceful state, that means nibbana. Sankharupa samang sukhang, appeasing, ceasing sankhara, he attains liberation or peace, happiness. When we practice metta, we attain peace and happiness. A metta practitioner, how can he attain peace and happiness and liberate himself from sankhara? Sankhara means our backpack for samsara journey. If the samsara is a journey, sankhara is a backpack that we carry for our provision on the way in samsara. So this sankhara we minimize and eventually reduce by practicing metta. So I like to spend few more minutes explaining how metta practice can lead to nibbana, attaining liberation. We practice metta through skillful understanding. We have to have a good understanding to practice metta. It is not just talking about it. In our thoughts, words and deeds, we must try to express our metta. Why? It is because us as well as the rest of the world are full of suffering. We practice metta because we have suffering. We have practiced metta to others because they have suffering. So our purpose is to eliminate suffering. Eliminate our suffering as well as others' suffering. The entire Bodhisattva idea in Mahayana tradition is based on metta. Even though we don't talk very much about Bodhisattvas, we, all of us, without any exception, want to be liberated ourselves, and we wish others to liberate. Liberate from what? Liberate from suffering. When we say we want to liberate from suffering, it certainly implies that there is suffering. We all have it. Whether we like the word or not, there is suffering. We may use different terms to express it, but whatever terms we use to express, we express the same meaning, same thing. So we practice metta to get rid of suffering, to practice metta with the awareness, understanding that there is suffering. With the awareness of the cause of suffering, with the awareness that this suffering can be brought to an end, with the awareness of that there is a way, a method, a system to eliminate suffering and attain that goal. That means with the full understanding of the Four Noble Truths, we practice metta. Otherwise, why do we practice metta? There is no reason for us to practice metta if there is no suffering. Suffering in us, suffering in others. Then we practice right thinking. You might have inferred already that I am leading, I am trying to explain the Noble Eightfold Path that we practice with metta. This entire teachings of the Buddha is based on metta. when Buddha said that there is suffering, a compassionate Buddha eliminated his suffering, he wanted to eliminate other suffering. That is why he spent so many hours a day giving talks, instructions, and resting only 2 hours a day. We practice right thinking with metta. Actually, the metta practice is right in the Noble Eightfold Path, in the right thinking. Sometimes you might wonder if metta is so important, it should be in the main teachings of the Buddha. The main teaching is the Noble Eightfold Path and Four Noble Truth and Noble Eightfold Path. So metta practice is in Noble Eightfold Path. In the second step of the Noble Eightfold Path, second step is right thinking. What is right thinking? Right thought. Thought of letting go. Thought of letting go. Letting go of greed is very important factor because that is the cause of suffering. In Pali it is called nekkhamma sankappa, thought of letting go. In other words, very technically we say thought of renunciation. Renunciation of what? Renunciation of our greed, the cause of suffering. And the thought of non-hatred, avyapada sankappa, or avyapada vitakka. Avyapada means non-hatred, non-resentment, non-anger. Letting go of hatred itself is not enough. Once we let go of hatred, then we must replace it with something else. What is that? The practice of metta. When you practice metta, in our thoughts, words and deeds, practice metta. That is the thought. It is called thought of non-hatred. Metta start with letting go of hatred, and then in the place where anger or hatred was, our natural metta seed begin to grow. By trying to practice metta to overcome anger or hatred is not going to work. It is just like putting the cart before the horse. When you have anger, you cannot at that moment practice metta. We have to do something to get rid of our anger. Various things are there. We have to select right kind of friends to overcome our anger. So we have to be very careful about it. we don't try to justify anger. Many people are so accustomed to getting angry or even developing grudge, hatred, and it takes roots in the mind, and then they eventually get so used to hating others, it naturally comes to their mind. Even when they drive to work, if there is a heavy traffic, they curse. They hate it, express their hate, just because the traffic. And they enjoy that. And eventually, inside themselves, they burn. Any tiny little thing is enough for them to get angry. So, when we must train ourselves to be patient. When we train ourselves to be patient, anger will not hurt us. We talk against anger because anger or hatred is not something beneficial to us, beneficial to others. It always hurts us, hurt others. And therefore, whenever somebody practices metta, that person try by all and every means to not to think something that hurts them. If you practice metta, you do not want hatred or resentment to bite you, to hurt you. Only if you do not practice metta, if you do not know metta, then you go on hating yourself, letting hate eat you up. So, before practicing metta, just like in the Noble Eightfold, in the second step of the Noble Eightfold Path, right thinking or skillful thinking, first we have to let go of our hatred. Avyapada sankappa. And don't try to justify anger. It is not going to do any good to anybody. Sometimes you see your child, those who have children might know, as we all know our parents, what they did is not so much different from what we do to our children. When a child in front of you take a piece of wood or metal and put into the mouth, and you immediately try to take it out, the child would try to swallow it and it gets stuck in his throat. What would you do? You just stroke on his head and kiss him and so forth? No. You put your finger into the mouth and make it crooked and hold that particular object and pull it out. When you pull it out, it may hurt the child. He even cries and his mouth may bleed, and still you take it out of his mouth. Why? Because you love the child. Even though it hurts the child, when you pull it out, your action may hurt him, the object may hurt him, but that compared to what could happen to him later is negligible. So you remove it. At that time, even though the child hurts, you do it because you love the child. You don't want the child to die. Similarly, when we practice metta, with great difficulties, we have to get rid of our anger. And then, just like after the object removed from the child's mouth, if it is bleeding, too much bleeding, you take the doctor and get some medication to stop bleeding and cure the child. Similarly, when we try to get rid of our anger, it is not very easy. It is very difficult. And yet, for our own benefit and for the benefit of others, we try to get rid of anger. And then practice metta. At the same time, when we are upset or angry or full of resentment, we don't try to blame others. By blaming others, we try to escape the problem. We must look at ourselves not in the sense of accusing ourselves, blaming ourselves. When we have anger, we don't blame others, nor do we blame us. We try to see why I get angry. Perhaps I don't understand the situation. Perhaps I don't understand what is going on in the other person's life. Perhaps I don't understand what sort of chemical or hormone is upsetting in me. I don't know. So sometimes without having enough rest, too much stress and so forth can cause anger. And therefore we try to find out those reasons to get rid of our anger rather than just trying to either blame us or blame others or find some other excuses. Then in order to get rid of our anger, there also is another way, that is if we look at ourselves, ask ourselves, are we grateful to someone who angers us, someone who causes anger in us? Sometimes people are angry with their parents. At the same time, we must ask people who are angry with their parents, must ask how much grateful I should be towards my parents who gave us life, the most precious things. Nobody else could give us life except our parents, and the trouble that they went through to bring us up and difficulties they underwent to educate us and so forth, at the time that we cannot do anything by ourselves. They were the ones who did everything for us, as we all know. And therefore, instead of getting angry with whatever wrong things they do, we must be grateful. When we are grateful to them, our heart becomes soft and gentle, and easily we can practice metta. So we must cultivate the sense of gratitude towards our, especially parents. And also, when we have wrong kind of friends, they can encourage us to get angry. That is why Buddha asks us not to associate with fools. Asevanaja balanam, panditananja sevana. Don't associate with foolish people who not only do wrong things, but also encourage us to do wrong things, including supporting getting angry. Choose right friends, good friends, kalyana mitta, one who instructs, helps, encourage us to practice Dhamma, to liberate ourselves and others, to get rid of our anger, practice Metta, live in peace and harmony. Those are the kind of friends we must associate with, not someone who may have some ulterior motive and can pretend to be friends, but they really are not our friends. Get rid of that kind of friends who do things to encourage us to do harmful things, and associate with good friends. Then, when we practice Metta, friends, it is not very easy, but when we are all alone, find a very relaxed mood in your own life, very, very relaxed. Perhaps the time you sing a song in the bathroom to practice Metta. Because only when you are totally relaxed, you open your heart. And at that time, add your Metta thoughts to your song. Make a song, Metta song, meaning recite Metta words. Make the Metta word your song. Compose it so that you can very easily sing that song. Anytime you like to sing it, so honestly, sincerely try to feel when you say Metta words. And also, in order to get rid of your uptightness, rigidity, anger, hatred and so forth, do some physical exercise. Walk. Easiest exercise is walk. As long as you can, irrespective of the weather, walk. And then relax. When we walk, I know it very well because I do it every day. Not because of my anger. I don't get angry that easily. But as a habit, I walk. That time you feel very comfortable because your blood circulation is very good, you are very relaxed. If you have anger, you are hating anybody anytime, that time get out and walk and relax. And then do some mental exercise. What is the mental exercise? Good mental exercise. Meditate. All this will help you to practice the second step of the Noble Eightfold Path. What is the second step? Right thought. Right thought. One of the right thoughts is getting rid of anger and practicing metta. Third right thought is practicing compassion. Avihingsa sankappa. Avihingsa is non-cruelty. You know, when you practice non-cruelty or compassion, it comes from metta practice. Of course, that we must start from our childhood. As Buddha said, whatever we learn to do in the childhood, that remains in our life for the rest of our life. That is very, very true. Metta practice is one of them. Compassion is one of them. Long ago I wrote an article called Crime Nursery is the title of the article. Crime Nursery. Where is this crime nursery? Home. That is where you nurture your anger. Parents are fighting, using harsh words and saying very nasty things and abusing someone and so forth and so on. Children watch all this and they also learn how to do that. They do to their younger ones and then they spread it in the society. So, if we practice metta in our childhood, then as we grow up, it becomes a part of our life. It remains in us. Of course, now as adults we cannot become children. But we must remember how relaxed, how friendly children were, or we were when we were children. So do some kind of things in order to get rid of our anger and practice metta. Whenever we practice metta, remember we practice one of the aspects of the Noble Eightfold Path. That is the path Buddha asks us to practice all the time to liberate ourselves from suffering. Then we speak. We speak with metta. Whenever we speak, when we lie to somebody, what is our intention? Intention is to deceive the person, cheat the person, confuse the person. Cheating, deceiving, confusing somebody is unkind thing. If we speak with the intention of confusing, we don't practice metta. If we speak with the intention of deceiving somebody, we are not practicing metta. So, we can speak the truth. If the truth hurts somebody, we wait. We wait and find a way to tell the truth and make the person feel comfortable. So, that is a metta practice. Then, divisive talks, what you call malicious speech, definitely is not kind speech. Our speech should be friendly, timely, truthfully, and meaningful and factual. When we include these components into our speech, then we do speak with friendliness, with compassion. Then harsh speech, we always expressed our anger. Any criticism of anybody with the intention of hurting the person is not coming from love, loving friendliness, compassion. It is coming from hate or anger. Gossip. We may say various things, meaningless things, in order to pass time. At the same time, in these meaningless things, we may have perhaps intention to confuse others. And therefore, meaningless talk also is not a part of our metta practice. So when we practice metta, our speech is right. Then our action is right. What is the action? Not killing. Killing is definitely not metta practice. Not killing is metta leading to metta practice. Abstaining from killing, abstaining from stealing, abstaining from sexual misconduct are metta practice or leading to metta practice. One who abstains from killing is one thing. Positive thing is replacing it with metta practice. One who does not steal is one thing, and then practice metta, wishing others to enjoy whatever they have. That, of course, is the mudita practice, appreciative joy practice, coming from the beginning of metta. And also practice of equanimity. Then not committing sensual misconduct is also leading to metta practice. That means we treat everybody with loving, compassionate way without violating their privacy, their honesty, their dignity, their respect. Anytime we violate somebody's honor, dignity, respect, we are not practicing metta. Abstaining from that leads to practice metta. Then right livelihood. Nobody can practice right livelihood without, cannot practice right livelihood if the person has hatred, anger, and so forth. What are the right livelihood? This is a big question. I have detailed explanation in one of my books called 8 Mindful Steps to Happiness. Many people these days try to find out right livelihood. That is not very difficult for someone if the person's mind is full of metta. The person does not deal with livestock, buying and selling weapons, buying and selling poison, then buying and selling harmful, illegal stuff, and cheating in measurements when they sell something. And whatever means we use to live, if it is not straight, direct, honest, that is called wrong livelihood. So we abstain from such things. That helps us to keep our mind clear to practice metta. Then we make right effort. Right effort, number one is restraining, sangvarapadhana, restraining our senses from abusing that would hurt us and hurt others. And for instance, when anger arises, that is not for our benefit. We must make every possible effort not to let that happen. Because from our experience we know every time we got angry, every time we hate, we hurt ourselves. Very simple, common sense practice. So, we prevent that happening to us. Every time in the past we got angry, we were hurt. So we remember that experience, not to let that happen again. That is called prevention. In spite of our very sincere effort, sometimes at unmindful moment, we might get upset, angry, because of the habit, samsaric habit, or previous habits. At that very moment, we must come to our senses, be mindful, be patient, and let that go. Let that anger or hatred go. That is overcoming effort. Then the next is arousing metta deliberately in our mind, arousing patience deliberately in our mind. And then the fourth is developing, encouraging ourselves, repeating it again and again to stay with the metta practice. As I said the other day, bhavanaya paripurya chandang janeti vayameti viriyang arabhati chittam paggannati. So, to develop, improve, increase, repeat metta, we can make it a habit. So, by doing this with effort, mindful effort, we can practice it. Mindfully, we restrain ourselves, mindfully we overcome, mindfully we arouse metta, mindfully we develop and cultivate. So, right effort is to be cultivated with mindfulness and with metta. Then we practice mindfulness itself. Samma sati, right mindfulness. Right mindfulness is invariably wholesome mental practice, wholesome karma. In the right mindfulness, metta is there because we overcome our anger, hatred, and practice metta. And the last we practice is right concentration. We cannot gain right concentration with anger in our mind. Especially, right concentration has explained or described in terms of attaining jhanas. Jhana is a very peaceful, settled, steady state of mind with good concentration. When we practice jhana, metta is the stepping stone to gaining concentration. As you know, among the benefit of metta practice, I think I mentioned, others also might have mentioned it earlier. When we practice metta, we gain concentration very quickly. Why and how? Because there is no resentment in our mind. For metta, because of the metta practice, everybody and everything is our friend. We are their friends. Then when friends and friends meet, what we expect? Peace, not resentment, not anger. They are our friends, we are their friends, and friends come together, peace arises in our mind. Concentration arises in our mind. So we overcome, when we gain jhana, one of the hindrances we overcome is anger, avyapada or vyapada. Second of the 5 hindrances is anger. So we overcome that, and we do not say angry word in our meditation, in our jhanas. When we attain the first jhana, all our verbalizing, speech stop. Speech stop at the first jhana. Second jhana, our thought stop. What are the thoughts? Thought of cruelty stop, thought of anger stop, because we already have overcome them as hindrances. And even their scruple of thought will not arise in the second jhana. That is where metta, we feel metta. I said we practice metta in words and thinking, verbalizing, thinking and feeling. Now, when the thinking of anger disappears, thinking of metta becomes active. Even that thought of metta turn into the feeling in the second jhana. So in the second jhanic stage, you feel that you are amongst friends. Everybody is your friend. That feeling you have. along that feeling a great joy arises. And that even that would be overcome in the third jhana. When you attain the fourth jhana, even that joy is no longer there. Equanimity begins to emerge, develop, and getting pure in the attainment of the fourth jhana. So in the fourth jhana, equanimity and mindfulness both become very pure and clean. So when we practice metta, you gain very powerful concentration where all you feel is peace, and therefore metta practice is not limited, is not one single practice. It is a practice, whole complexity of practices. Especially the Noble Eightfold Path, we cannot practice without metta. Because we must understand suffering, our suffering and others. So, that is why I said entire teachings of the Buddha is based on metta, living friendliness. Even the entire Noble Eightfold Path is called brahmacharya. Brahmacharya. Brahmacharya means holy behavior, noble behavior, pure, clean behavior. The steps to follow to liberate ourselves from suffering. That is why when somebody attains full enlightenment, he said, Usitang brahmacharyam. I have lived the holy life. What is the holy life? The life of Noble Eightfold Path. The one who has practiced the Noble Eightfold Path. Brahmacharya in other meaning is celibacy. The widest meaning of brahmacharya is the practice of Noble Eightfold Path. The word Brahma is used for noble, holy, pure, clean. That is why it is called Brahma Vihara. Metta, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka, loving friendliness, compassion, appreciative joy and equanimity, all put together and call it Brahma Vihara. The noble behavior, sublime behavior. Vihara means dwelling place. Brahma Vihara means place where holiness, purity dwells. That means that begins with metta. And therefore, the entire Noble Eightfold Path is called Brahmacharya. Brahmacharya, the noble or holy behavior. So when one attains full enlightenment, he said, I have lived the holy life, I have done what was to be done, there is nothing more for me to do. What was to be done? The practice of Noble Eightfold Path. The person has practiced it and attained that state and say and declare to himself, I have lived the holy life and pure life, there is no more to do. Friends, with this, I like to conclude today's talk. I don't like to talk too long because not only I get tired, secondly, I don't want to bore you out. When we give too long talk, people fall asleep. So, this is enough, and I hope you enjoy your retreat. Thank you.
සාදු 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 සදහව සුබෙන්නතුනි අද දවසේ මේ උතුම් වූ දේශනාව සිදු කරා වූ පූජ්‍යපාද හේනේපොළ ගුණරත්න ස්වාමින් වහන්සේට නිදුක් නිරෝග ආශිර්වාද ලැබේවායි අපි හැමදෙනාම සාදු නදින් ප්‍රාර්ථනා කරමු. සාදු සාදු සාදු. සදහවතුනි අද දවසේ මේ උතුම් වූ දේශනාව ඔබ වෙත ගෙන ඒම සඳහා පින්බර දායකත්වයේ ගෙන කටයුතු කරනු ලබන උදවියගේ අරමුණු අතර සිහිපත් කර තිබෙනවා. මෙම උතුම් ධර්ම දානයෙන් ජනිත වන ඒ මහා කුසලය පරලොව සපත් දෙමාපියන්ට මේ පින් අනුමෝදන් වේවා. ඔවුන්ගේ භවගාමී ජීවිතය සුවපත් වේවා. ඊටමත් ඉක්මන් භවයකදී නිර්වාණ අවබෝධය ලබත්වා. හේනේපොළ ගුණරත්න මහා නාහිමියන්ට මේ පින් අනුමෝදන් වේවා. නිදුක් නිරෝගී සුවය ලබත්වා. ප්‍රාර්ථනීය බෝධියකින් ඉක්මනින් නිර්වාණ අවබෝධය පිණිස මේ පින් හේතු ආසනා වේවා. විශ්වයේ සියලු සත්වයන්ට නිදුක් නිරෝගී භාවයම ලැබේවා. උතුම් වූ ධර්මාවබෝධය ලබත්වා. මෙම උතුම් ධර්ම දානයෙන් ජනිත කරගත් කුසල ශක්තිය ජාති ජරා ව්‍යාධි මරණ දුක් කෙලවර අමා මහ නිවන් මඟ පූර්ණය කර ගැනීමට පාරමී ධර්මයක් ලෙස උපකාර වේවා. කර්ම රූප වාහිනී දායකත්ව ධර්මදේශනාවක් සඳහා ඔබටද දායක විය හැකියි. ඔබේ අරමුණක වෙනුවෙන් අප නාලිකාවේ ධර්ම දානය සඳහා ආගමික අංශය සමග එකතු වෙන්න. 0.704 113 113 0.112 75 55 75